When someone wounds you, betrays your trust, humiliates you, or causes you pain, the natural instinct is to strike back. But often, direct revenge weakens you, exposing your emotions and giving them power over you. What if, instead, you could make them feel guilt so heavy it crushes their pride and haunts their mind? This is not revenge with sword or word. It is the silent, invisible punishment Machiavelli himself would approve of. In every age, men and women have asked, what is the noblest revenge? Is it the dagger in the dark, the angry outburst, the burning of bridges? No. The wise know that true revenge is not to strike, but to force the offender to strike himself within his own conscience. Tonight, I, Niccolò Machiavelli, your guide through the darker corridors of power, shall reveal the art of silent revenge, how to make them feel guilty for ever daring to harm you. Listen carefully, for what I am about to reveal is not the wisdom of the weak, but the secret of those who command power over others. When a man or a woman wounds you, when they betray your trust, humiliate you in public, or cut you deeply with their cruelty, your instinct screams for retaliation. You wish to shout to expose them, to strike back with words as sharp as daggers. Yet this is folly, for in your anger, you show your enemy that they have pierced your armor, that they have succeeded in disturbing your soul. That display of emotion is not revenge, it is surrender. The true master of power understands this. The greatest punishment you can deliver to one who has harmed you is not fury, not argument, not retaliation, but silence. Silence, my friend, is not emptiness. It is not weakness. It is a weapon sharper than the sword and colder than steel. When you respond with nothing, you deny your enemy the very thing they seek, your reaction. Know this: the offender feeds on your anger, because your outrage proves that they matter. Your fury confirms that they are powerful enough to disrupt your world. But when you remain silent, when your face betrays no storm, when your voice withholds both complaint and curse, you steal from them the triumph of seeing you wounded. You force them to confront the echo of their own action, alone, with no distraction to shield them from their conscience. Consider the torment this creates. The man who has wronged you begins to wonder, why do you not shout? Why do you not curse his name? Why do you not accuse him openly? Your silence becomes a mirror, and in that mirror he sees his guilt reflected back at him. He replays his crime in his own mind, searching for signs of your suffering, but finds nothing. This nothingness consumes him. He cannot know whether you are hurt, whether you are plotting, whether you have dismissed him as insignificant. The uncertainty gnaws at his pride. He begins to punish himself with his own imagination, far worse than you could punish him with words. Let us think like princes and rulers, not common men. When a prince is insulted by his subject, does he immediately lash out? No, for if he lowers himself to petty retaliation, he loses his majesty. The ruler who answers insult with silence forces his subject to live under the weight of disfavor, never knowing when or how punishment will come. The silence itself is punishment. So too in your life, when others wound you, do not grant them the pleasure of seeing you diminished. Maintain your dignity, your composure, your unshaken presence. This calm indifference is more cutting than any outburst, for it declares, "You are too small to move me." And here lies the cruel beauty of silence. It breeds guilt, where none may have existed before. The offender may not have regretted their cruelty in the moment they struck you. They may have laughed, confident in their triumph, but when faced with your quiet strength, their laughter begins to wither. Doubt creeps in. They wonder if they miscalculated, if they revealed too much of their malice, if others now see them as dishonorable. Your silence throws the burden of justification upon them. They must now explain their own actions to themselves, and it is in this private court of conscience where guilt grows like a poison vine. Do not misunderstand me. I do not tell you to ignore forever. Silence is not the absence of strategy. It is the first stroke of it. You must wield it deliberately, like a blade concealed beneath your cloak. Withhold your words at the moment when they expect them most. Leave the wound they cause suspended in the air, untouched. so they are forced to look upon it every day. Let them wonder whether you are waiting, whether you will strike at a time of your choosing, whether you have already begun your revenge in ways unseen. This uncertainty weakens them more than confrontation ever could. Remember, the greatest rulers, the most cunning minds, have always known that the human heart is never quiet when it feels guilt. It beats faster, it replays the crime, it whispers accusations in the dead of night. Your silence is the architect of that guilt. You need not speak, for their own conscience will speak for you, and it will not cease its whispering. What begins as their victory soon turns to unease, and that unease ripens into regret, until they are left haunted by the weight of what they have done. Now that you understand the strength of silence, let us move deeper into the art of revenge. For silence alone is but the foundation. It is what follows that shapes the destiny of both you and the one who wronged you. When pain visits you, when betrayal pierces your chest like a dagger, you stand at a crossroads. The weak crumble, revealing their fragility, while the wise transform the very wound into a source of power. This, my friend, is the true mastery, to take what was meant to destroy you and make it the very reason you rise stronger, taller, more untouchable than before. Reflect on this truth. Pain is inevitable in life, but weakness is optional. The insult, the betrayal, the humiliation, these are weapons wielded by others to diminish you, but whether they succeed depends not on their cruelty, but on your response. If you fall into despair, if you allow their offense to define you, then they win. Yet if you stand unbroken, if you take the fire of their cruelty and forge it into armor, then you reverse the game. The injury they inflicted becomes the very spark that fuels your ascension. And nothing torments an enemy more than watching the one they tried to ruin become untouchable. Consider the image of a ruler whose enemies plot his downfall. They spread lies, they conspire, they strike at his reputation. If he appears weakened, they celebrate their victory. But if he stands before his people more composed than ever, if his rule grows firmer, if his influence expands despite their attacks, then those enemies are undone not by his retaliation but by his resilience. So too in your life, when someone wounds you, show them not your collapse but your growth. Every act of cruelty must be answered not with vengeance of the fist, but with vengeance of achievement. Think carefully here. The true sting for those who hurt you is not to see you cry. It is to see you rise. To watch you prosper when they had hoped you would perish. To watch you smile when they had expected your sorrow. To watch you surrounded by loyalty, opportunity, and admiration when they had schemed to leave you abandoned. This reversal is silent punishment of the highest order, for it mocks their power. It says, "You attempted to break me, yet you became the author of my strength." But how is this strength forged? It is not merely pretending to be strong. No, pretense alone is fragile, for it crumbles under close gaze. True power is cultivated by discipline. When you feel pain, you must not drown in it. You must study it. Pain is a teacher, harsh but honest. It reveals where you are vulnerable, where your defenses failed, where you allowed trust too easily or exposed yourself too recklessly. By observing your pain without fear, you refine yourself. You become harder to wound the next time, less naive, more cunning. Thus, every betrayal sharpens you, as a blade is sharpened against the stone. And know this, the world admires those who turn wounds into wisdom. Men and women do not rally behind the one who cries endlessly about their suffering, but they are drawn irresistibly to the one who suffers in silence and emerges with renewed command. Your enemy wishes for you to remain small, to carry the label of victim. Do not grant them this satisfaction. Reject the weakness they expect of you, and choose instead to embody strength. Every victory you claim in the aftermath of their cruelty will echo in their conscience like a relentless drumbeat. It is also necessary to understand the theater of perception. Much of human power is not in reality but in appearances. If you appear shattered, you will be treated as shattered. If you appear composed, you will be treated as composed, even if within you there still flickers pain. Therefore, discipline your face, your words, your demeanor, When those who hurt you glance your way, let them see not collapse but calm, not despair but progress. Even if you still bleed within, do not gift them the sight of your wound. Let them instead witness the mask of your strength, until in time the mask becomes your true face. There is a cruel irony in this transformation often. Those who harm you do so because they cannot bear your strength, your freedom, your light. Their attack is born of envy or fear. Thus, when you take their cruelty and make it your fuel, you magnify the very qualities they sought to extinguish. You become more radiant, more powerful, more complete. And what can torment a guilty heart? More than realizing that their attempt to destroy you only elevated you. This is the essence of turning pain into power. Not merely surviving the wound, but ensuring the wound becomes your greatest advantage. Remember, the strong do not waste time weeping over betrayal. They extract from it the lessons, the energy, the fire, and they build themselves into something greater. To suffer and remain weak is to let your enemy win twice. But to suffer and rise stronger is to win twice yourself, once over the pain, and once over the one who inflicted it. Every offense becomes a stepping stone, every injury a hidden gift, every betrayal a new chapter in your evolution toward greater power. In this way, pain is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of your ascendancy. You have learned the art of silence, and you have mastered the discipline of transforming your pain into power. But to truly ensnare the conscience of the one who wronged you, you must learn the delicate craft of subtle reminders. For guilt is not a flame that burns eternally on its own. It must be fed, gently and strategically, until it consumes the offender from within. The wise do not shout accusations, for accusations provoke denial and anger. The wise instead plant seeds of remembrance, so that the betrayer cannot escape the shadow of their own deed. Let me speak plainly. When you confront someone directly about their crime, they defend themselves. They justify, they argue, they twist reality to escape blame. But when you say nothing, when you allow time to pass and then strike only with suggestion, you bypass their defenses. A carefully chosen word, a fleeting gesture, an unspoken glance. These are the weapons of the cunning. They awaken the memory of the wound they caused, not by your force, but by their own conscience. You do not remind them of their betrayal. You allow them to remind themselves. Picture this as a chessboard. The fool rushes forward with the queen, attacking openly, and the opponent sees the move clearly. But the master positions his pawns quietly, almost innocently, until the opponent realizes too late that his king is trapped. So too must you maneuver in the game of guilt. Your reminders must never appear as reminders. They must appear as passing comments, as chance circumstances, as accidents of timing, until the guilty heart begins to feel that the world itself accuses them. For example, let us say one has betrayed your trust in friendship. Do not confront them with anger. Instead, speak in general terms of loyalty, of honor, of betrayal, never naming them, but ensuring they are present to hear. Watch as their eyes flicker, as their mind replays its crime against you. Your words will echo in their ears, long after the conversation ends, because their conscience supplies the connection you deliberately withheld. This is the power of subtlety. You never say, "You hurt me." Instead, you say, "There is nothing lower than betrayal," and let their mind do the rest. Subtle reminders need not be words alone. Your actions themselves can be sharp daggers, cloaked in innocence. Withhold trust where once you gave it freely. Guard your secrets where once you shared them. Treat them with a courteous distance, as though they are no longer the same in your eyes. This cool detachment is not a direct punishment. It is an unspoken judgment. And judgment without words is often heavier, for the guilty one must imagine its reasons. They wonder, do you know everything? Have others noticed? Are they exposed? In this uncertainty, their guilt multiplies. There is also a theater in memory. Humans cannot escape the moments they wish most to forget. If you remind them too directly, they resist. But if you create circumstances that echo the betrayal, they relive it without realizing why. Invite conversations about loyalty. Display acts of forgiveness toward others. Celebrate those who remain true. Each moment becomes a mirror in which they see their own failure reflected. It is not your voice accusing them. It is their own conscience whispering louder with each reminder. Understand the elegance of this approach. You are not their enemy in appearance. You are calm, you are composed, you are even polite. Yet beneath this calm lies a blade sharper than rage. The offender cannot attack you for being subtle. They cannot accuse you of confrontation because you have confronted them with nothing. And yet, their guilt gnaws at them daily, fed by these invisible reminders. They are haunted, but they cannot blame the haunting on you because you have said and done nothing that could be called an attack. This is true Machiavellian artistry: to wound without striking, to accuse without speaking, to punish without being caught. Never underestimate the power of restraint in this dance. Too much reminder becomes accusation. Too little reminder allows the guilt to fade. You must strike the balance with precision. A single sentence in a sea of conversation, a single cold glance in the warmth of a smile, a single pause at the mention of loyalty. That is enough. You are not hammering the guilt into them. You are guiding their own conscience to hammer it for you. In this way, you remain the silent architect of their torment, while they remain the builder of their own prison. And consider this, for it is vital subtle reminders are not only for the betrayer to feel guilt, but also for those who watch. Others around you will notice, without fully understanding, that the balance between you and the offender has shifted. They will sense that something is unspoken, that the offender has lost honor in your eyes. Thus, their guilt is magnified not only by their conscience, but by the suspicion of others. They feel watched, exposed, diminished, even if no word has been spoken. This is the genius of indirect strategy. You win allies without asking, you punish without striking, you leave the guilty weakened on all sides. So cultivate this art carefully. Do not rush. Let your subtle reminders fall like drops of water upon stone. Slow, patient, unrelenting. A single drop seems harmless, but over time it carves a canyon. In the same way, your gentle suggestions, your quiet gestures, your strategic silences carve deeper and deeper into the heart of the betrayer. Until, in time, their own guilt becomes unbearable, and they seek relief not from themselves, but from you, the very one they wronged. Why arrive now at the final stage of silent revenge, where the true mastery is revealed? For silence unsettles them, and your strength in the face of pain humiliates them, and your subtle reminders awaken their guilt. But guilt alone is not enough. The highest form of power is to bend the will of your enemy until they kneel before you. Not in chains, but by their own choice. The art is not to destroy them, but to make them seek redemption at your feet, to compel them to repair what they themselves have shattered. Understand this well. Most who wound you do not expect to carry guilt forever. They believe their cruelty will be forgotten, that time will heal the wound, that you will move on. But when you have orchestrated silence, strength, and reminders, their guilt does not fade. It grows heavier with each passing day. It gnaws at them during quiet hours. It whispers when they are alone. It shadows their victories with unease. And when guilt matures, it demands release. The guilty heart begins to crave absolution, like a thirsty man craves water. This is where your power lies, for you alone can grant what they crave. But you must never rush to grant it. No. The moment they first feel guilt, you remain distant. You allow them to stew in it, to feel its weight pressing down upon them. You withhold the comfort of your forgiveness, just as a ruler withholds favor, until a subject proves his loyalty. For if you forgive too swiftly, their guilt dissolves into relief, and your power evaporates. The wise understand that guilt must be stretched, elongated, sharpened, until the offender reaches the point where they cannot bear the silence any longer. Then, and only then, will they crawl back, seeking a way to restore what they destroyed. And when they come, do not meet them with eagerness. Meet them with restraint. A ruler does not rush to embrace a traitor who begs forgiveness. He lets the traitor sweat, lets him plead, lets him prove his sincerity. You must do the same. Let them reveal the depth of their regret. Let them confess, if not in words then in gestures. Small offerings, sudden kindness, unusual deference. Watch as they attempt to earn back the trust they once shattered. In these actions, you will see that the punishment is complete. They no longer stand as your equal, but as one who has been subdued by the invisible chains of their own conscience. There is brilliance in this strategy, for if you had shouted in anger, they would have resisted. If you had sought to humiliate them openly, they would have fought you. But by saying little, by rising above, by subtly reminding, you turned their own heart into the executioner. Now they are the ones desperate for reconciliation, desperate for your approval, desperate to cleanse themselves of the stain of betrayal. And here, you hold absolute power, for whether you grant or withhold redemption is entirely in your control, and they are at the mercy of your decision. Some may say, why not reject them entirely? Why not cast them away and leave them drowning in their guilt forever? But consider this: destruction is a blunt victory, while control is an enduring one. If you destroy a person, they are gone from your influence. But if you compel them to seek redemption, you reshape them into something more useful. You turn a betrayer into a servant, an enemy into a tool, a source of pain into a source of power. In this transformation lies the true genius of Machiavellian revenge, not simply to punish, but to dominate the very soul of the one who wronged you. Do not mistake me. To grant redemption does not mean to forget the betrayal. It means to let them remember it every day, through the very act of serving you, of trying to make amends, of proving again that they are no longer the same. The wound may scar, but the scar itself becomes the reminder that keeps them loyal. They will tread carefully around you, fearful of causing new harm, for they know the weight of guilt and dread ever feeling it again. Thus, by making them seek redemption, you do not only punish their past, you secure your power over their future. And there is another advantage. Others who watch this transformation learn a lesson without you speaking it. They see that betrayal leads not to your downfall, but to the downfall of the betrayer. They see that even those who once wounded you must return, humbled, to your side. And this sight breeds both respect and fear. Respect because they see your strength. Fear because they know the fate that awaits anyone who dares to cross you. Without striking, without shouting, without destroying, you have secured a reputation as one who cannot be broken, one whose enemies become supplicants rather than victors. This is the final act of silent revenge, to create a situation where the one who wronged you seeks to undo their crime by their own will. It is no longer you who pursues them. It is they who pursue you. They knock at your door, they reach out their hand, they offer words and deeds in hopes of cleansing themselves. And in that moment, the balance of power is reversed completely. You, once the wounded, become the master of their conscience. They, once the offender, become the petitioner, forever aware that the power to forgive or to deny rests in your hands alone. And so, you have seen the path revealed. Revenge need not be loud, nor crude, nor reckless. The wisest vengeance is invisible, yet inescapable. First, you strike with silence, denying them the satisfaction of your pain. Then, you turn the wound into your strength, rising higher while they watch in torment. You remind them subtly of their treachery, never accusing, but always allowing their conscience to accuse itself. And at last, you bend them, slowly, patiently, until their guilt is unbearable, and they return to you, seeking the redemption that only you can grant. This is not revenge with blood or fire, but revenge with power and time. It is not destruction, it is domination. You do not merely hurt them as they hurt you, you reshape their soul, you rewrite the balance between you, and you emerge not only victorious, but untouchable. For in the end, the greatest punishment you can deliver to one who harms you is not to strike them down, but to rise beyond their reach, to haunt their conscience, and to make them kneel in the prison of their own guilt. That, my friend, is the art of silent revenge.